What's up, everyone? Andre here, along with Joey, to discuss some, I won't say exciting news, but I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. Just the potential, Joey, the potential of Kid Icarus Uprising coming to Nintendo Switch. Because, I don't know if you saw, Joey, there was a new Sakurai video posted yesterday on his YouTube channel, Masahiro Sakurai on Making Games. An amazing channel, by the way, if you haven't missed it, or if you haven't seen it yet. And the latest video is about the Fiend's Cauldron from Kid Icarus Uprising. He goes into, like, the mechanics of it and how he thinks it adds to the game essence with the whole difficulty thing. That's all cool. That's all neat. But the more interesting part came at the end, where he specifically stated that, and I quote, "It sure would be nice to play Kid Icarus Uprising on a home console." Then he continues, "I wonder if someone out there will ever port it." So the question of the day is, Joey, is this a tease? Is it a tease, or is it just Sakurai being Sakurai, just being, putting it out there, putting the, hopeful energy out there? What do you think?
That's a really good question. And if it is a tease, I'm sure Nintendo's like, what are you doing, man? Why'd you say that such a thing? But this does, I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but this does remind me of the time when Eiji Aonuma, he spoke at, I think he spoke at a Zelda Symphony Orchestra in Japan one time. And I remember this was like 2019, I think. He said, "I know what you guys want. Skyward Sword on Switch, right?" And then everyone jumped on that, like, oh my gosh, is it finally come to Switch? We heard nothing for like 2 years, and then it finally came to Switch. So I'm not going to say this is totally out of the question, really. This reminds me of that tease. But at the very same time, it could just be him maybe he's irritated that this hasn't been ported to a home console yet. Who knows, really? But I don't think it's too crazy to think maybe this is a tease for something. But we waited 2 years ever since Eiji Aonuma teased Skyward Sword, so if that's the case, we might wait longer for this if it is real. If it's real.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cyclist in the chat. You just said they love our discussions. But yeah, the thing is, it's impossible to know. We don't know if it's a tease or not. Sakurai has an interesting history with, like, teases, if you will. But a lot of things he has said before are taken to teases, but don't end up being anything. But on the other hand, he has had, like, things that weren't originally intended as teases, but then almost in retrospect look like it is. For instance, not the best example, but like the whole, Ridley's too big in Smash. Of course, Ridley ends up being in Smash. So Sakurai, who fully ever knows, how it works for him. But there are a couple more interesting data points, I think, for this one, Joey. In particular, two things we reported on before. One, last year on Kid Icarus Uprising's 9th anniversary, so about a year and a half ago, Sakurai specifically said on Twitter that a remaster or port of Kid Icarus Uprising to Switch, I think on, or any home console, I think he said Switch specifically, would be difficult. And that's for any number of reasons. Right. I don't think he specified what, but there's the fact that the game was 3D, it had a unique, touchscreen-based input system, that some people loved, some people hated. And I'm sure there's more to it beyond that too. The fact that all the assets would probably have to be redone. Again, he didn't get into specifics. I'm just speculating. But a year and a half ago, he didn't seem too chipper about the idea, or too optimistic, I should say. But since then, this is a year and a half later now since he gave these comments. So maybe something changed. Maybe he is more optimistic now. Again, it's impossible to say for sure based on these brief comments. But earlier this year, Joey, something else interesting happened. And that's the fact Bandai Namco put out job listings, I think 3 job listings, maybe more, for potentially a remaster or remake commissioned by Nintendo. So it sounds like Bandai Namco is working on some kind of remake, and now I'm wondering, could that be what Sakurai's teasing here? Could it be Kid Icarus Uprising?
Oh my gosh. So you reminded me of this, and I was the one who actually did that news report, and I totally forgot I did that. But yeah, I remember that being the number one game people like latched onto when they heard this news as well, because it's just Sakurai also has relations with Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco,
Smash Brothers.
They still, they work on Smash Bros. I keep forgetting they also worked on the new one, not just the Wii U, not just Smash for Wii U. But yeah, it kind of makes sense if you line up the two together. It also could be that this is just something completely unrelated to Kid Icarus Uprising, but people want this HD remaster, or in this case, it might sound like a remake if what Sakurai says is true, that would be very extremely difficult to make happen. But video games in general are just difficult to make, so I don't really think that would be like a roadblock necessarily to make a remaster, remake, whatever like this happen. But I do want to point the attention to super chat we got from Disney Duncan. Sorry, it took us a while to get to that. Pit versus Kratos, who'd win? And that's when I'd say Kratos would destroy.
It wouldn't be a competition.
Pit. Not even a competition.
I mean, if it's just Pit by himself without Palutena to back him up, yeah, Pit's screwed. No chance in hell. Even with Palutena in his head, probably not. So
we're talking about a guy who killed Zeus. Like, come on.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so, I mean, that's a good point, Joey. The fact that Sakurai, said it's difficult, it doesn't mean it's impossible. I mean, and if anyone were to make it possible, it'd be Sakurai. Like, there's nothing prohibitive about the game not working on Switch. Now, that's not to say it could be done without some changes or alterations to the game. Clearly, Kid Icarus Uprising would need some work, I think. But yeah, I mean, if you have the will, there's always a way, right? So I wouldn't rule that out. And the fact that Sakurai now is even teasing the possibility, whether or not it's an actual tease, it doesn't even matter. The fact he's teasing the possibility, I think further shows it is possible. And it actually makes me more hopeful that, perhaps even if, again, it's not an official tease, maybe nothing's in the works right now, it does possibly suggest that he's more open to it. Maybe he's more willing for this to happen at this point. And I imagine too, even whether it does or I mean, whenever it may or may not happen, I would think he would have to be involved on some level, whether it's merely approving it or helping supervise it. And the fact that, as far as we know, I mean, we don't even know what he's working on right now, whether it is anything or not. So it would be a good time for him to be possibly supervising a port of this game, or maybe he just wants to feel out the reaction to it. Do people want to see a port? Like one thing companies do, not that Nintendo does necessarily, but they will like put out rumors purposefully just to see what people latch on to. Like that's actually Disney almost officially did this just a few months ago at their D23 Expo, where they're like, oh, we have all these awesome ideas for Disney World. Like, what if we had a land based on Encanto? What if we did this? And they're like just announcing things that don't even exist and are barely even in the planning phases, just to feel out what people are thinking and saying about it. So that could be part of this too. Maybe Sakurai's just feeling us out. Like, is that something people would want to see, right?
And it's very clear that this is something people want to see. We're having a whole discussion about it right now.
Exactly. And yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it was a popular game. I mean, rather, let me clarify that. The game didn't sell super well. It sold okay. It didn't blow up. But the people that bought the game tend to really, really enjoy it. Not everyone necessarily, but people who like were enamored by this game are all in. They loved it. And I think it was actually held back on the 3DS because of its form factor. Now I know, Joey, you didn't actually finish this game.
Nope. Here's the thing. Yeah, here's why. I just never got around to it, okay? It's as simple as that, really. I didn't really get turned off by it like halfway through. There just comes a point when I'm playing games where I just stop for whatever reason, and I say, like, I'll get back to this eventually, or just I don't even think about it, and then I just, move on. We have that all the time with games. I really enjoyed what I played of it. I thought it was really cool. It's a very unique Nintendo game. And Nintendo is a company that is kind of afraid of voice acting. That's kind of a bit overdramatic, but very, very rarely do Nintendo games have voice acting, and that's what I really loved about Kid Icarus Uprising. The gameplay was fun too. The on-foot controls are really strange, which is kind of why a game like this would benefit from a remaster or remake, totally, especially with dual analog controls. But what I really loved, and some people think this game is a bit too chatty, but I did love the voice acting in this game. They got some very talented voice actors. We interviewed them, of course, too. You can check out our 10th anniversary interview. But yeah, I really like this game's focus on story and characters, and I don't really think that's something we see too much from Nintendo these days, except for Zelda, and that's really about it. So I would love to see this franchise revisited, whether it be through a remaster or a new entry in general. But we need that remaster. Come on.
Yeah, I do think a remaster is more likely than a sequel at this point, especially with it having been now over 10 years since it came out. I feel like they may want to just gauge how successful it could be before they fully commit. And even though the thing, again, as I said with a remake, for as good as 3DS games could look, and this game looked so good on 3DS, like it holds up remarkably well. It does have its shortcomings too, and you would have to.
It was cinematic as heck.
That's exactly it. I think that's what really helps carry it, right? Is like it is more cinematic. I think almost perhaps more than any other Nintendo game to date. Like the way the cutscenes played out with all the audio and all the chatting, and it's just so well done. It feels like I mean, I think I said it when we revisited a couple years ago for our Game Club series. It felt like Nintendo's Uncharted. Like it, even though it's very different in gameplay sense, like just the way they presented it, like it felt cinematic, and that's awesome. And that's one thing that they wouldn't have to like. That's if they were to remaster this, like the gameplay, most of the gameplay, you know, the cutscenes, the dialogue, it's all set in place. Like they don't have to reimagine all that. They just have to update the assets. But everything else they can just carry over. It would hold up so well these days that I think it would still stand out on Nintendo's console just with, you know, updated graphics.
I agree. And Disney Duncan also gave us another super chat. Thank you so much. What's more likely to happen? A Kid Icarus Uprising Switch port or native Kingdom Hearts port? What's more like? I feel like a Kid Icarus Switch port at this point. Yeah. I don't know why Square Enix dropped the ball on those ports so bad.
Right, because Kingdom Hearts is already on Switch just as Cloud, right? So at that point,
as Cloud, yeah.
Yeah. So there's no way we get a native port at this point. If we could have, we would have already. So Kid Icarus Uprising is more likely. And you know, there is a chance, Joey. There have been, of course, rumblings recently and for years now of another Switch. What if, though, you know, with a Switch Pro, Switch 2, whatever, what if they actually made Kid Icarus Uprising kind of like a showcase for a successor to the Switch? Like, you update this game, again, it already looks great, but you update those graphics for a more powerful Switch, oh my god, it would look incredible.
Oh man, it really would. That's a really great showcase for like, and I hope at this point it's like a next console, not like a Pro upgrade. Like, give us that next Switch or that next Nintendo console and show us what it can do with Kid Icarus Uprising. Because, man, visually, Cyclist in the chat says, "I'm sorry, but Kid Icarus graphics were better than Pokemon Sword and Shield, and it was a 3DS game."
I mean, arguably better than Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah, honestly, that game looks so good on the 3DS, and it needs to those. Even if it was 1080 60 visuals, I would prefer 4K, or at least upscaled 1440p, right? But man, those visuals were just absolutely stunning. And like we talked about the gaming cinematic, not just with the voice acting too, but the camera angles. Like you had those pan forward effects, like those zoom in effects on the camera that's seen in a lot of Disney, that's seen in movies, and you know, WALL-E kind of did that really cool with Pixar too. But man, it's just they need to be blown up on a big screen, like even on the 3DS like XL screen. It's just like I wouldn't say it doesn't do it justice. They were made in mind for those screen sizes, and they do look really good on those screens. But I would love to see that for a next generation Switch, or even just current Switch. I wouldn't mind seeing it on that.
You know, you talked a lot about screens there, Joey, and there is one element of this game that would be lost in a conversion or port, and that is the 3D screen. And that is actually one of the cooler things about Kid Icarus Uprising, is I think it actually made some of the better usage of it, because you had this really cool instant like depth difference between Pit himself, who's in the foreground, and everything happening past him, and it felt really good, especially when you're flying around. It was less impressive when you're on the ground, when it's just like a more standard third-person, you know, action game. But when you're flying around, oh my god, that looks so freaking cool, especially as you're like dipping through valleys or whatever else. Like, that was an impressive effect, and that's something that would not be quite as impressive in that sense as, you know, when it is ported, if it is ported to Switch.
Yeah, I don't care about 3D anymore, Andre. Unless it's Avatar, I'm watching in IMAX, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I think this game would just still look fine on a standard, you know, 2D regular screen. Like, it's what really amazes me more about the game more than its 3D were just the visuals themselves. And I've already harped on about the visuals enough already. So just to see them remastered, remade into a fantastic looking HD or even 4K game that would be all right with me. And we got a super chat from Mr. Foxhat, who says, would love to see Switch ports of Uprising and Conduit 2. Thank you so much for the super chat. I have the Conduit games. I still haven't played them yet, so I need to put that on my list.
I may need to borrow that. Mr. Fox has been bugging me to get Conduit 2 forever, because I never played the sequel to the first one, and I actually like the first one. So I'm still looking at Mr. Fox. I have not come across it yet. Thank you for the super chat. But yeah, I mean, 3D is not essential for the game. It's arguably not essential for pretty much any game. But I do think its loss would be unfortunate, even if, again, it's not a necessity. But, Joey, there is a way they could rectify that, and that is if they support Labo VR, baby! Come on! Sakurai already had the Labo VR mode in Smash Brothers on Switch, Smash Brothers Ultimate. I would love if they offered that as a optional thing, and it's a kind of thing that I could almost see Sakurai doing, even though Labo VR is like long since been forgotten. Knowing Sakurai, it's not possible.
Yeah, I didn't even know they had that on Smash. Where have I been, Andre? I didn't know this was a thing.
It was a little patch they added. It wasn't great, but you could play a match using a like zoomed out camera where you could see the entire thing in 3D. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm sorry, my friend.
Yeah. The bigger issue, Joey, is another hardware-based issue, and that's how are they going to resolve the control issue? Because the controls on the 3DS, although I hate them, did allow you to be precise in a way that you couldn't be with a control stick, and maybe possibly even gyro. So how do you think they would rectify that?
I feel like they'd have to play with gyro for this, or even if you, because I'm trying to think about Star Fox also, but Star Fox had gyro controls too. But you know, it's still a very different game from Star Fox, even if it does have the whole on rails shooting element going for it. Like I feel like it'd be a piece of cake to translate the on foot sections into making it like a third person shooter / combat sort of game there. But yeah, that's a good point. And that's part of the challenges I'm sure Sakurai was thinking about when he said it would be a very challenging remaster is how do you translate that to a control stick sort of game? And I feel like that's why it'd probably be more of a remake at that point, is because you'd have to completely redo the control style. And I don't think it's impossible. I think adding in the gyro would make sense, of course, but if people want to just stick with the control sticks, that's also fine too.
Yeah, I think the controls actually, I think they could be better on Switch. For one, I wasn't a huge fan of how it felt originally. I mean, even putting aside the inherent discomfort to holding the 3DS in a way that you could use a touchscreen as they wanted you to, it just didn't feel perfect. Like, I like some elements of it. I enjoyed it could kind of toss a cursor around and that would cause like pit to spin, you know? And it did allow you to react quickly and target things precisely. But the whole like mechanic with having to smash a control stick, for instance, to do land-based attacks, didn't feel great on the circle pad, and that would actually feel a lot better on a proper control stick.
Yeah.
But I do think, to your point, there would have to be some level of like reimagining how the controls work. And I don't think they could do just like a straight up adaptation, you know, like, oh, hey, it's the same thing now, but like with gyro. I think they would actually have to revise a little bit how they actually function. And they may even have to go to the point of like adjusting, you know, enemy spawn points or how enemies attack, things of that nature. And I wouldn't mind if they did. I think they could retool all that a little bit, make it, you know, more of, a more bespoke experience on Switch.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I do think it would be better on Switch, just because like, didn't the game originally come with like a stand?
It did.
You'd put on your 3DS.
Oh my god! That came in the box. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't think like that was. I never played it with that. I didn't think it was super necessary. I think I got Kid Icarus Uprising for free actually with my Nintendo Club points. Remember those? I miss Nintendo Club.
Man, I remember the Nintendo Power catalog days, and that was awesome. So.
Oh man.
Let's see. So in the Austin Evans says in the chat, if they can get Pikmin 3, Mario Maker 2, and Skyward Sword to work on Switch with the controls, they can get Uprising to work. And exactly. I mean, there's no reason they can't get it to work.
I'm still shocked Skyward Sword works. Yeah, like for better or worse. I know some people don't like the stick controls, but I'm like, it works. It's fine. And I played it the whole game with it. It's great.
Wow. Yeah. I think I played mostly with the gyro controls, and those by and large worked fine too. I think I had a few issues compared to the Wii version, I think, but by and large, yeah, they were functional. I got through the game with them. And so, yeah, worst case, they could probably even adapt the current control method, and it would still probably work, especially with the variable difficulty level that Sakurai's whole video was about recently. And by recently, I mean literally last night. But I do hope, again, it's something that they go back and, you know, kind of take another look at. And kind of to that point, too, Sakurai even touched on, you know, like, you know, how he seemed pretty proud of, like, the whole Fiend's Cauldron risk versus reward mechanic that I added. I wasn't a huge fan of it myself, but even he said like there's things he'd probably do differently about it these days, or may not have been perfect. And all that's making me think. I mean, he's like, man, maybe he is looking at this as an opportunity to go back, like basically remaster this game, like the director's cut, if you will, and make an even better version on Nintendo Switch. And God, that would be amazing.
Yeah, Tardabom, however you pronounce that, says in the chat, the 3DS version already has multiple control options. The variety is already built in. I didn't play with those multiple control options. I forgot there were.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how it worked. It had like a lefty mode, I think, or maybe there was like touch control, or rather button controls for moving the cursor. I can't quite remember. It wasn't perfect, but yeah, there were other ways of playing it already built in. And I know some people were able to play the game that way. I don't think I would have enjoyed. I think I might have enjoyed it even less than the current control method they had, just because I think it took an analog process and made it digital. But again, it just speaks to the point that yes, they can make it happen. Like even with minimal reworking, though I hope that they would rework it. So, Joey, what else would you want to see in the Switch port? Like what else could they do here that would make it so you stuck with it more than you did before?
That's a really good question. I haven't played the game in a long time for me to really know what I want per se. Yeah, I'm not sure because it's been a while. I was actually thinking about just now. My 3DS, it's right here, so I want to like go get it and install the game right now if it's not already installed.
This will be a long live stream as you watch Joey slowly download Kid Icarus Uprising.
Exactly.
In real time.
Everybody, just wait for a second.
Yeah.
I actually don't think I ever uninstalled it, so yeah, something I might play over the Thanksgiving break.
You know what I would want to see as a returning player to the game? I think it'd be really cool if they actually offered a bit of an epilogue to this game. Especially with it being so long. It is add like a new chapter or two. That'd be enough. Like you remake the game, add a post, add an epilogue. That would be so fun, I think. Just give us a little bit more, especially with how the original game teased. I think a sequel. Chat can remind me. I want to say it was 10 years, but I felt like they missed the window that they teased in the game. Maybe it was longer. I think it may have been the original window from the first game to Kid Icarus Uprising, which was what, 20-something years, I think.
We got a few things in the chat. Tardabamon says, wait around 60 seconds at the end screen. There is an epilogue.
Wait. Oh, yeah. Yeah, where I think that's where Hades actually comes on and says, maybe that's, I think it was teasing the line I was just mentioning. So that's what I'm saying. They could build on that. We could actually get a proper chapter after the current epilogue, and it would be amazing. Mr. Foxhat with the $5 super chat says, as for Kid Icarus Uprising's controls, the special moves would be better on the controller versus tapping them in the touchscreen, or the D-pad online should be revived too. Yes, 100% Mr. Foxhat. Thank you for reminding me. That was one of my bigger complaints about the game. I hated how you activated the powers. You had this like tiny little window you had to scroll through, separate from your main window that you were also controlling Pit with. That absolutely should be on the D-pad or some kind of shortcut. And yeah, that'd be a huge improvement. So right there with you. Good call.
Yeah, not bad. I never tried the online because I think at the point I played the game, maybe around 2015, 2016, I don't remember. I don't think anyone was online at that point.
Yeah, online actually. That's another one that I think they could really beef up. I know some people really got into it. I never got into it too much myself on 3DS, partially because I just didn't want to play an online game on my 3DS. Just not terribly comfortable for that kind of experience. So they may not even have to rework it at all. I mean, it might be fine as is, and I could give it like a second lease on life once again, and it could be another compelling offer for NSO. It's like, hey, it's effectively another shooter from Nintendo. Here's another shooter on Switch, one that's even arguably more conventionally shooter than Splatoon is, and that could be a great asset.
Yeah, I think so too. It's yeah, I'm trying to even like picture what the gameplay was like in my head, like on the on-foot sections at least. There was because there was melee combat too, right? And there was
with like smash attacks, which is also well talking about.
Yeah, very interesting, very unique style play. Even if this was translated to like modern controls with the Pro Controller and whatnot, it would still be a very unique game on its own.
Oh yeah, I mean the game really stands out. I mean, just for any number of reasons, whether it's a mix of on foot and then on rail segments, or the fourth wall breaking narrative constantly, how funny this game is. Like, this is by far one of the funniest games Nintendo's ever made. Like, for me, it's like this and Color Splash. Like, those are the two like funniest games Nintendo's ever published. And with this one having voice acting, again, it just lends it an extra level of polish that we don't see that much. Like, we don't like this, honestly. Like, the presentation here, it's shocking they made this game on 3DS, because this is like a console caliber presentation. Like, it's something you would expect more from Sony, honestly. Like, this is like a Sony AAA game on the 3DS, and that's why it would work so well on Switch. Again, just with some visual updates.
Oh yeah, like the part that comes to my mind with just thinking about how quick-witted and like funny this game is, it's when, and how good the voice acting is too, when you're flying and it's just like super epic. You're flying up to this 3-headed dragon, I forget who it was, and then the minute you like meet it, it's arguing with each other,
Yep.
all the heads, and I'm just like, this is so funny. It really is like one of the most unique games ever made. You try to think of a game like Kid Icarus Uprising, you can't. It's so interestingly unique. Even if it was on like normal quote unquote hardware, it would still be just insanely original. Like, wow, Sakurai really is just, it's a testament to Sakurai's genius, really.
Yeah, I mean, even games that exist in a conventional space feel unique. Speaking of games that have Greek gods, Disney Duncan with a $5 super chat, thank you, asks, Joey, is God of War Ragnarok your game of the year? It might be mine or Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So real quick, Joey, don't specifically answer whether it's your game of the year.
Oh, I'm not.
But yeah, but maybe say, like, is it possible? Like, is it in the running for it? We can address that at the least.
It's in the running, totally.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't want to say what my game of the year is until we do our game of the year discussion anyway. So
exactly, that'll probably be coming up in not too long. So stay tuned, everyone. Thank you for the super chat, Disney Duncan. Yeah. So I think for me, as one who played Kid Icarus Uprising and very much appreciated what it was, but didn't quite love playing it on the handheld, I am excited for a potential Switch port because it can make me actually enjoy replaying this game. It's just that playing on the 3DS isn't comfortable, especially with its maniacal control scheme. For how precise it could be, it wasn't necessarily worth the discomfort, and I would welcome a reimagined controlling version of this game on Switch with the level of quality brought up to Switch standards. Oh, that could be something amazing, and I think it would honestly. I mean, I say this as if it's a surprise. Almost every port on Switch sells better than it did before. But yeah, I think it will blow past the 3DS sales. It could blow up on Switch.
Oh yeah, in general, it's hard to revisit 3DS games, period. It's not just that Kid Icarus Uprising has sort of a unique, I would say, control scheme. Like, even when I was doing my replay of the Metroid series before Metroid Dread came out last year, playing Samus Returns was tough. It was very tough because everything on the 3DS is so small, and I'm just so used to everything being bigger on the Switch. It's tough to play games on the 3DS nowadays. I'll still do it because I still love 3DS games, but yeah, there's a lot of games that could benefit from being ported to the Nintendo Switch or even later hardware from Nintendo.
So, Yoshihiro is asking, when will the TGA, the Game Awards, happen? I'm still waiting for the upcoming anime games and they try and make its way through it. So, yeah, that's on December 7th, is it?
December 8th.
8th, okay, December 8th. Joey, is there a chance Kid Icarus Uprising Switch is revealed at the Game Awards?
Nope. I think, and I don't know if we're gonna have a Game Awards like predictions discussion.
We will.
Okay, cool. I'll just hint at, I'm thinking like if Nintendo's gonna be there, they're only gonna show the Mario movie and that's it. That's what I think.
Oh, spoilers, man! You like
Spoiler
we are discussing it, Joey. All right, let me just throw it out there.
Quick, change the title, change the thumbnail. Let's go.
Here's my game of the year too. While we're at it, yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you in general, based on the last few years, that we probably won't have a ton of stuff from Nintendo, but. I don't know. I feel like the Game Awards might be, if it were to happen, it wouldn't be the worst place for Kid Icarus Uprising to be announced, because it would kind of broaden the demographic beyond the core Nintendo fan base that they would want to reach with the new Kid Icarus or a remake of Kid Icarus, and that'd be kind of amazing, especially just with the caliber of the cinematic presentations we've already discussed ad nauseum here. Like that really seems like right up the Game Awards alley, where they're all about that AAA experience, having celebrities there, and even though they didn't have like any movie celebrities in this game, the caliber of voice acting here and voice actors was by far the highest Nintendo's ever had, and And yeah,
Yeah.
they were amazing to speak to when we talked to them, a few months ago. So
And I believe Troy Baker plays two characters in that game, and he might as
right.
well be the video game celebrity now. So.
Exactly. Bingo. Mr. Foxhound, another $2 super chat. Thank you. Says, last comment, Ever Oasis should be ported too. I know a lot of people love that.
I have not played that game. I've been wanting to, because I heard it's kind of like its own sort of Zelda-ish game. And, I love Zelda. So.
Real quick, so Josie says the audio seems to be cutting out. Has anyone else had that? Is the audio cutting out at all for anyone?
I saw those chats for a second, and I haven't seen them again. So there was probably just a brief... Yeah.
Oh no, Joey! No, what are you doing?
What is real?
Brett says we're good. All right, awesome.
We did get a cyclist asked who's your favorite Kid Icarus character. Off the top of my head, because I can't remember many of the characters. I liked that the headed dragon. He was funny. Probably in there for only one level, but he was funny.
Did you even get to Hades being introduced in the game?
Yes, I did. Hades was I remember him being really funny and cool. But yeah, I think I got to that, and then I played one chapter after, and then I didn't touch it. And then I thought it was halfway through the game, but apparently it's not even halfway through the game.
Yeah, that game's amazing. I love that too. Like I don't want to spoil too much, but you think it's over and you're nowhere near it being over. Like it feels like a complete experience, and then the game just goes on for like 3 times as long. And
I hate it when games do that.
Oh really?
I was just I loved God of War Ragnarok, but man, it was long. And when you think it's over, it's not. And I'm just kind of it didn't ruin the experience for me, but I do hate it when even great games do that. Knowing that about Kid Icarus, I'll expect it, so I won't be too mad or anything.
It has to be done well. I think it depends a lot on the type of game and the narrative. I think it works better for Kid Icarus because it's already not taking itself all that seriously. So it kind of plays into that whole fourth wall break. But I could definitely, pacing is an important issue. And if you think you're winding up and, even it feels appropriate to be winding up at that point and it doesn't, yeah, that can be a problem. There's been, several movies I can think of off the top of my head that should have wrapped up at least, half an hour sooner than they did. So
yeah.
A couple more super chats. Disney Duncan asks for $5. Thank you. Asks, happy early Thanksgiving, GameXplain. Thank you. Right back at you, Duncan. Disney Duncan. Are you doing a stream tomorrow like you did the last 2 years? They were quite fun. Yes, Disney Duncan. The current plan is, barring any major changes, I should be there streaming for Thanksgiving. So I'll be there for at least 3 to 4 hours. We'll be hanging out, playing a bunch of multiplayer games. Stay tuned. It should be a lot of fun. I think I'll probably be starting around 2 or 3 p.m. Pacific time. So it should be perfect for the East Coast as well. So yeah, if you're by yourself, or if you just have nothing going on, come hang out with us. It should be fun. That'll be on YouTube here. So yeah, make sure to hang out. Then Disney Duncan also asked for $2. I think I'm the only one that likes Dark Pit. I like Dark Pit too. Dark Pit is actually, I think, a fun character. I think
cool guy.
Any variant of Pit is great. So I'll take all the Pit I can get. And
look at that! Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have sold 10 million units worldwide in 3 days. That's cool. Pokemon's #1 biggest franchise ever. I was just reading our news chat. Sorry, everyone. I throw that out there.
Well, that may be a preview of a video coming soon to GameXplain. So stay tuned for possible Pokemon updates. So. Yes, Nintendo Man, there'll be a Mario Party live stream as well. That's in just 50 minutes here. Here on YouTube, we have a Mario Party Superstars live stream. No, sorry, twitch.tv/GameXplain. That's where we'll have the Mario Party live stream. So, chat, is there anything else about this game you want us to address that we haven't yet? A potential Switch port. But Joey, as we wait for chat to give us their final questions, I gotta ask you again, talking about it more now, do you think there's a chance we see a Kid Icarus Uprising on Switch in the next year?
In the next year? No. Maybe the next 2 years, I think.
Do you think it's being made now?
Yes. I do think it is being made now.
By Bandai?
I think I'm really confident in that.
Is that the Bandai Namco game?
I want to say it is. I really think it makes sense for it to be Bandai Namco. Because, Sakurai works with them.
Right.
Kind of makes sense. And I feel like that would be his next big project after Smash Ultimate.
Yeah, I also do think it makes a lot of sense. Again, we don't know whether this was a tease or not. It may have been nothing. It could have been Sakurai waxing poetic about the possibilities of there being a Switch port. It could have even been him just putting it out there like, hey, why hasn't this been ported to Switch yet? What's wrong with you? You're pulling a wrench.
Yeah.
Right? So
is Sakurai the one to really troll?
No.
I feel like...
So he does, as we kind of touched on this earlier, he does have this it is like commonly believed that he is trolling. But if you go back and like look at what he's actually said and how it lines up with what actually happened, he very rarely has it said anything along the lines of trolling or teasing, or like
Yeah.
explicitly at least.
He's got a cheeky sense of humor,
He
but he
does, I
doesn't
think, yeah.
really like mislead people, you
No,
know?
that's actually a great point. He typically doesn't. And not that this would necessarily be misleading in either case. In any way, we don't fully even know what this means. But I do think it opens the door at least to the possibility of it existing. But the fact that him teasing, again, very much in quotes, the possibility as we find out about this potential rumor or a potential remaster remake from Bandai Namco, a company that Sakurai has worked very closely with, as we've already established, for Smash Brothers, does make you wonder. And I don't even know what else, like what other games like would be good candidates for this. Like as you said earlier, once that news came out, one of the big games people were immediately theorizing was Kid Icarus. So the fact that Sakurai is talking about it right now, like it's just all kind of lining up, right? So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, we got another super chat from Geo Zaga. How do you pronounce that name? I don't know. What kind of extra content do you want to put in? Andre did touch upon this earlier. He wanted more content in the epilogue, I believe.
yeah, just a couple extra bonus missions. I mean, what would actually be really cool? I don't remember enough of the story to know if this is actually possible or not. Because the game does a pretty good job of having you there for like every major story beat. But if there were some space where they could add extra missions, like what if you could play as Dark Pit, for instance, like a little side story or something? I don't know. Like maybe you could play as other characters. I'm just trying to think of what else they could do. But like it would be actually neat that you could see like a portion of the game from a different character's perspective, and you play as them for like an alternate version of that chapter. If not adding, an epilogue. I think there's fun ways they could play, like since the game's already so meta anyway, they could go all in on this and really just kind of like, change how it works. But yeah. Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think if there's a way to make this work. Like
Play as the dog. Cyclist says play as the dog again.
That's what I was trying. Yes, that's what I was trying to figure out. You beat me to it, Cyclist. That's what I was trying to think. Like, is there a way they can incorporate that, like, into like a multiplayer mode? Like, is there a way they can make it so like there's a dog mode where like maybe one person is a dog, you have to and everyone else has to protect him? I don't know. Something like that could be a lot of fun. Like they could go all in on the multiplayer. They could like. What's another game? There's another game that they reimagined the multiplayer for completely. I'm drawing a blank on this. What the hell is it? God, they ported it to Switch, I think, or some platform, and they completely redid the multiplayer. Oh, I know what it is. I'm thinking of Conquer. It wasn't even Nintendo. Conquer, when they remade that on Xbox, they completely redid the multiplayer. I actually didn't like it in that case. But point is, they could do something like that for this game. Totally reimagine how that works. So
people are saying you can play as Dark Pit in Light versus Dark Mode, which doesn't sound single player, is it? I don't know.
It doesn't sound like it, yeah.
Yeah, but you're talking like a full-blown like mission where you play as Dark Pit.
I think aren't there missions? I think chat. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, it's been a couple of years now since I revisited it. Aren't there missions where you do like fly alongside Dark Pit or play with each other? What if they had a co-op mode in this game? It doesn't have to be canonized. Like, what if you just have a second player, a second pit that can appear alongside you?
Okay, there is a mission you play as Dark Pit. Okay.
Yeah, I do remember. I do remember that. So maybe they could build on that even more.
Yeah, give Dark Pit more missions, man.
Exactly.
I'm shocked he's in Smash Bros. To this day still. He's literally just Pit, but dark.
Yeah. Well, famous. Yeah, I think it's fine to spoil in the chat if you have a question specifically about it. I think enough people. The game's 10 years old, so whatever. Yeah. If you want to avoid spoilers, just don't read the chat. We'll try to avoid saying anything too explicit. I myself don't even fully remember enough to like really spoil all that much specifically. Disney Duncan, another $5 super chat. Thank you, Disney Duncan says, I want amiibo functionality to get Smash Brothers weapons. I would love to see Pit using the Keyblade. Oh boy.
Sakurai is wild enough to do that, I think, to incorporate that, especially if it's his game, amiibos,
Yeah, I think the Keyblade specifically would be a huge stretch, but if anyone can make it happen, it would be Sakurai. So, but that would be fun if they did add like some more Smash Brothers elements to the game. Yeah, Jay Crazy says they still own Pit and Dark Pit amiibos as part of their collection. I'm sure a lot of people do. Nice. So, yeah, just trying to see if there's anything else here. Yeah, any final questions, chat, before we wrap it up? But Cyclist says you guys should try multiplayer. I did, and I thought it was fun. It just wasn't clicky enough, I almost wondered, like, I'm thinking just way outside the box now. What if they did? What if they pulled a Halo Infinite? You make Kid Icarus Uprising multiplayer like its own free thing as part of NSO, and then you had the story campaign as a self-contained pay.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, Nintendo's done that before with Uh, wasn't there a free multiplayer Steel Diver game? I think there was
I
on
think there was,
3DS.
yeah. I mean, the only difference was they didn't separate it, I think, from a previously existing
No, they
version.
didn't.
But I mean, not that it'll be negative to really anyone because you could just get it. I mean, you either get it for free or yeah. In any case, yeah, it makes sense. I think potentially. I don't think
Yep,
they would just knowing Nintendo, but
that's true. Yeah, Steel
um,
Diver Sub Wars. That's what it was called. That's right.
yeah. Thank you, chat.
Cool, cool.
Yeah, I think we're about done here, everyone. I think we've pretty much talked about as much as we can. So, Joey, would you pick this game up if it came to Switch?
100,000%.
Holy God. I don't know if that's how
Totally.
math works, but I respect it.
Oh, we got another super chat. Master Knight DH, $5. Thank you so much. If the remaster were to be better balanced and accessible while keeping things like grid reading and the spin shot technique, that would be awesome. And I agree.
Tartu Man says, what if the Kid Icarus for NES and of Myths and Monsters, the Game Boy sequel, came as bonus content with the Uprising port? Ooh! Alright, well, so the NES game's already on NSO, so that wouldn't be that beneficial for anyone who already owns it. But the Game Boy port, I don't think that's ever been re-released. Maybe it was on 3DS Virtual Console, I don't fully remember. That'd be cool. I mean, sure, I'm down for more bonus content. That'd be neat. I mean, you know what I want? You know what I want? I
What do you want?
want a full commentary track from Sakurai. I want him to dive in deep on this game. Like, if you got like a documentary, or more, like I guess not too far removed from what he's already doing on YouTube, but if we got like a more focused experience of that in the game, oh, that'd be so freaking cool.
We're talking about God of War comparisons. They did that for both God of War games. So it'd be Raising Kid Icarus, Raising Pit, or
Mm,
something. That'd be a neat documentary series.
yeah, I love that. That'd be so cool, and that's something Nintendo historically doesn't like they stray from. But with Sakurai, like anything's possible. Like the rules, there are no rules when it comes to Sakurai. He can do what Sakurai wants. Sakurai does. So
He's kind of like the Hideo Kojima of Nintendo. Whatever he wants, he does. He makes
exactly.
completely different games from him. They're buddies too, like Snakes and Smash Bros. Come on.
Yeah, bingo. All right. The only other thing, real quick, that I would want them to tweak is actually I kind of touched on it earlier. Is how the well, God, what was it? The demon, the villain, the difficulty works. Like I wasn't a huge fan of being kicked down to lower difficulties if I failed, and then like
Right.
I got punished. I felt like I was unfairly punished for that, even more than just losing. It's like, oh, you're losing hearts that you gamble too. And I know Sakurai went into why he thought that was the game essence of the game. Myself, I would prefer just a more standard difficulty level. If I set it hard, just give me the hard experience. Don't knock me down if I lose. I want to give me the option to, sure, but let me keep going at it if I fail from that. And I think it sounds like Sakurai might be open to like tweaking how that worked as well if he were to revisit the idea. So
Yeah, it's called the Fiend's Cauldron,
thank you. Yeah.
as Tartubaman pointed it out. Yeah, I thought, man, the difficulty levels being like so detailed like that, like by the point, by the decimal. I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. And it's funny. I played this game after I played Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS, so I'm like, oh, same exact things.
Yeah, yeah. He basically reused that in Smash, and it actually works better there, I think, because that's like that was. I mean, in Smash, it's a side mode. Like the single player content is more of a side thing, and it worked better for the shorter, like bite-sized experience rather than a full campaign, in my opinion. Even if it is still level based, but
Yeah,
Hunter Hexen
true, true.
says, "Is this speculation or is there some proper hints from Sakurai?" I mean, we don't know. I mean, it's this. Most of this discussion has been speculation, even to the point of speculating whether Sakurai was teasing anything or not. We just don't know. And to err on the side of caution is better just to assume he's not teasing anything. We wouldn't want anyone to be disappointed that nothing happens to Kid Icarus. He could just be floating the possibility out there. But I do hope that actually does mean something. But I think the game would be a perfect fit on Switch, as is pretty much literally every other game ever. And it'd be fun to revisit it with remastered visuals, better controls, and all that. So. Disney Duncan with another $5 super chat. Man, you're thank you so much, Disney Duncan. It is the season of giving, apparently. Says give us customizable
Customizable.
thank you. Difficulty
Difficulty.
like The Last of Us. Yes, that'd be perfect.
That's really cool. Like, I, what was it? You can customize like how hard each enemy is. I guess you can customize how hard the puzzles are. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but yeah, like every single detail could be in there, and you know that would be neat. I don't see it happening because most games don't even do that level of customization. But yeah, really cool stuff.
Yep, absolutely. All right, chat. I think we're gonna wrap it up here. We've talked ad nauseum about this game. Not much more to say at this point. Bottom line is, Sakurai may or may not have teased anything. Probably safest to assume he didn't, but hopefully he did, or rather, hopefully we just get Kid Icarus on Switch at some point in the future, because that'd be amazing. Tortue Man says, at higher difficulties, Palutena stops holding your hand. Oh, wait, or are you saying that, is that what happened in the game? I don't remember. Or they could make that happen.
Well, at higher difficulty? Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
If it didn't, if that's not what already happened, I think that's a good idea. So
just holding on to your wings most of the game. So
yep, yeah, wing holding, I guess as it may be. Chat again. Thank you for watching. We'll be back in just about half an hour over on Twitch for our Mario Party Superstores live stream. I'll post a link in the chat. Go visit us there, and then I'll be back tomorrow on YouTube for our Thanksgiving stream. Where if you have nothing going on, come hang out with me. Should be a lot of fun. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later. Let's hope Kid Icarus Uprising happens on Switch. Probably won't, but hey, let's hope it does. All right, everyone. Bye, and happy Thanksgiving if I don't see you tomorrow.